Hello, Beryl. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's a lovely day. Every day is a lovely day.
Yes, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
You're welcome. You do great work.
Thank you. Thank you, Beryl. So, friends, we have Beryl Comar here. And, to be honest, I cannot go through her whole profile because it would take the complete time of our interview. So, to shorten it, Beryl Comar is an emotional intelligence development specialist, author of the most popular book, Hypnodontics. On the same topic, she conducts the workshops as well. She's a consulting hypnotist and instructor, NLP Platinum, master and instructor, sleep talk for children trainer, EFT trainer. So that's in short, Beryl is for us. How many years, how many decades of experience, Beryl, into hypnotherapy?
Well, I actually started with transcendental meditation back in the
Oh,
1970s.
okay.
You
That's
know?
amazing. So how did
I,
you get into hypnotherapy then?
I was always interested in hypnotherapy. My mum thought I was a bit weird. That's good. I'm weird. I like being weird. And she'd sort of no, 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 no. But the more people said no to me, always it's find out more, find out why no. So I was always going to seminars and things, anything to do with psych, but it was all psychology in those days, and well, not much of that in the 70s, really. Um, Psychology wasn't a career. Psychology was research. It still is. Psychology is about research and statistics and things. And then people graduate as a psychologist and they go out and see clients, but they don't know the how. They only know how to give a diagnosis. You've got your diagnosis and what to do. I was more interested in the how and always interested in language and thought. Can you think without language? Can you have language without thought? And study and watching animals. I lived in Tanzania for 4 years in the middle of an area where all the game parks are. And I saw how animals communicate. I saw their kindness within different kind of animals, how because I rescued quite a few animals too. Um, but I also saw the other side, the bestiality, they're eating each other, survival. And I was always interested in that pain pleasure thing.
Okay.
Um, I was training as a teacher. I was interested in the psychology of child development, of our brains. I did transactional analysis as well back in the 80s. So I'm a certified psychotherapist because I use transactional analysis. And NLP, hypnotherapy, because there was no internet. But I finally found, first time I came to India was Bandler, was it
Okay.
94, when he was in India in Bangalore.
Bangalore, yeah.
And with Wil Horton, I came to um, Western Lines or Bombay Lines, near Chapel Gate, near Bombay Hospital. Yeah,
Okay.
West Hotel or something. There was an NLP course, and I did some trainings in Tamil Nadu and I love Pondicherry and Mahabalipuram, places like that, because I lived in the Middle East. Again, that that belief structure, where do we get beliefs from? So I actually got certified, but I was doing hypnosis, practicing with people just because you can. You don't have to be a hypnotist to do hypnosis. We're doing it all the time. I was a school principal. So when the naughty kids get sent to the school principal, come on in, Ali, sit down. And I used to hypnotize them. Nobody knew it was my hobby. I used to
Okay.
have long holidays. So I'd go off to the States and do courses and things, but I didn't talk about it in the Middle East because of all the myths. So as soon as I could, and I saw things changing, I I dropped out of academia because I saw where academia was going with percentages and numbers, and I didn't like that. It didn't work with me as a teacher who wants to develop the whole child, emotional intelligence again. If you don't have strong emotional intelligence as your foundation, only numbers and statistics, you're never going to believe in yourself. So that's when I made the switch to full-time
Amazing.
coaching and things. But I was already known in the community, so it was great.
Okay, excellent. And Beryl, here comes my first question related to myths of hypnotherapy. So personally, some people still believe that hypnotherapy is against um, religion. It could be any religion, and they feel that this is something to do with black magic or all this stuff. So, what is your answer? Even now, I get such questions that this is not a right thing as per our religion, etc., etc. So, what's your answer for such people who think that
Well,
it is not?
this is one of my favorite questions because again, I've traveled the world. I've lived in the Far East. I've traveled in India. So I actually studied comparative religions. I used to get the school prize every year for scripture and theology. Not this, but that's only because I'm interested in comparative religions. And so for the Christians, the Bible Belt and things, I would like them to know that in the National Guild of Hypnotists, there is a chapter of padres and priests, and they work with hypnotherapy within their churches.
Oh, excellent.
Reverend Scott Giles, Scot Giles, Giles. He's very open to sending you whenever you have questions, to giving you references within the Bible, etc. That can counter all sorts of questions. So reach out to Scott. He's a mine of information.
Okay.
And for the Muslims, well, there is a surah early on in the Quran that says, Allah gave you a brain, but it's up to you to learn how to use it. Very powerful. And almost every page of the Quran mentions the brain or thinking or intention. And that's exactly what we're using, is the brain. So when I first went to Dubai to the authorities to talk about opening a hypnotherapy business, what is this hypnotherapy? Well, I explained that it helps people to change their bad habits, etc. For example, smoking. Smoking was huge then. So, this sounds good. I said, yes, about the surah. This is very good. But there's no job hypnotherapists on the statutes of allowed jobs in the Middle East. So I said, well, how long will it take to change a statute? And they said, maybe 2 years, maybe 3, maybe never. It will be there. How many people will be pushing for this? I said, just me. I'm the only one here at the moment. So they said, go, do good work. If we get a complaint, we do something. They never got a complaint. And every time I talk to the Muslims about this, they're so open.
Okay.
Open to this.
Wonderful.
The only ones who are against that are people who are already hypnotized into beliefs about voodoo. And I said, that's your hypnosis. You weren't born with that belief. Somebody gave you that voodoo belief or that black magic belief or the eye of Fatma or whatever. Our job is to see how that limits you so you can overcome it and get on with a very productive life, just like the Prophet would want. Yeah. For the Hindus, I will talk about the people that put knives through their chins and cheeks and arms. Sometimes they bash themselves with knives and, different holidays and things. Well, that's a hypnosis. How can you put something through your skin and not bleed? How can you? That's exactly what I do when I do a demonstration for dentists.
Okay.
Is actually put, anesthesia of the mouth and stick a needle right through. And that's what I do. But they're doing it naturally. I'm just taking what is a natural ability of our brain and teaching you how to use your brain.
Okay. got it.
I think I covered the three main religions there.
Yes, well, thank you. And Beryl, there is one black sheep of hypnosis, which is regression work. So, out of your decades of experience, could you please tell that is regression to cause work leads to re-traumatization of the client and that, all the misconceptions. So what's your question?
As soon as the client starts talking about their smoking habit or their feelings of rejection, it's a nominalization to talk about, what do you think about this? What do you think caused this? And many of them read psychology or whatever. They're like, oh, I think it's because my mother did this. They're regressing. Well, what did she do? Oh, she used to do this. You're actually regressing. And you're in your conscious mind. You're analyzing. As soon as you say, oh, yeah, I remember the first time I smoked and who was with me, and you've done a regression. All we're doing in hypnosis is taking you, not necessarily to that, that's a conscious memory. It's probably before when the feeling started. And we're addressing that inner child who made that decision then. But now as the informed adult, we're negotiating with that child and saying, is this what you wanted? Is this what you saw? The different parts of you can talk to one another, and you make the informed consent to quit or cut down or whatever. I'm just facilitating that. They're making all the decisions. I don't make anyone a smoker. Non-smoker. I don't make anyone get over their feelings of rejection or unworthiness or whatever. Most of the time, we're not born with these things. Yes, sometimes it could be that we're born with this feeling, but then we go to womb regression. And for example, I've had clients go back to mother eating cornflakes in the middle of the night because that was the only snack food available in the 40s, and being pregnant and worrying. And then they're eating corn, they're not realizing that's why they're snacking at night now. So again, you can talk to that fetus, have the fetus talk to the mother, reassure, I'm going to be a good kid, everything's going to be fine, etc. Sometimes the regression goes back to a past life. Past life, again, people ask me what I believe. I tend to just be open to any beliefs, because if I have a strong belief in past life, I'll think everything has to be a past life. It's not. And I can't diagnose. I'm not Dr. Brian Weiss, who says everything's a past life, because my belief is it's not. There's enough, shit in this life, But if it does, then it's exactly the same process. Go to the life between lives, negotiate with that you, come into the future with your goals, your focus for this life. It's actually very simple. A lot of people just think that the brain is very complicated, and it's not. The brain is there to help you survive, to do everything for you, but it sticks to that habit because it knows it did that for you then. You haven't got a new behavior yet to take over from that old behavior. So of course I'm going to keep hold of that behavior, that belief, until something new comes in and it says, oh, okay, I can let go of that now. Oh, because I'm going to use this anchor instead.
See, Beryl, you gave two examples of smoking and eating habits, etc. That I understand. However, there are some people who are still scared about working with the clients who have been, sexually abused in their childhood, etc. And they think like, doing the regression to cause can bring up or open the can of worms. This is the word exactly I keep hearing, and they're scared. So what is your suggestion here?
Well, that's the therapist's fear, not the client's.
Hypnotherapy.
Get over your own stuff and don't do therapy work until you're over your own stuff. I was sexually abused as a child from 8 to around 12 by a boyfriend of my mother. I was raped when I was 32. I always say the reason I never had a period pain in my life and never had problems with periods is because as soon as I had my periods, the abuse stopped. So I was like happy. So I always thought, and I never told anybody, I never talked about it. I thought I was the only one, etc., etc. But I really had a chip on my shoulder about men. And I had lots of boyfriends. I was quite promiscuous, which is also what happens. But it was regression to cause that cleared me. This happy, smiling person you see now is not a fake. I was then, because I was faking it. I thought it happened much later than it did. The first time was actually in the swimming pool. My mother, I didn't know at the time, didn't swim, so she used to send us on Sunday mornings with this person to the swimming pool. And I, like all little 7, 8-year-old girls, I loved jumping in the pool, doggy paddle to the side, up the steps to the side, jumping again. I mean, you love that, don't you? Just jumping in and jumping in and jumping in. But then he was wanting to catch me, and it was in the pool that he was putting his hands under my swimming costume, things like that, which is why I can still be a bit edgy at the pool and the beach, because I'm always watching out for other kids. I'm looking out for that sort of thing happening. But it doesn't mean that it affects me. I just want to help kids. I always have. It wasn't traumatic. It was, wow, that's when it started. That's when I could have made the decision to tell, before the other abuse that went on later, because it's grooming. Yeah. If I'd have told then, so I needed to have that conversation and build up that courage. And it made me able to talk like I am now without any emotion. I can talk to women's groups and men. I've worked with a lot of men who were abused, and that's even worse because they can't talk to anyone. I'm very often the only person they've ever spoken to about this. Girls have often said it to another girlfriend or something. So it was pure enlightenment. But again, it's not just the regression to the cause, it's dealing with it there and working with that child and saying, you're not alone now. You're a tough little soldier, and you've fought all the battles, but you never won the war. Now's the time to win the war. And that is such an amazing thing to say to a child. I'm lucky that when I did this work, I did it with Gerald Kein himself in the States. So I'm very confident working with sexual abuse, sexual issues, sexual identity issues, and things like that. I think that, especially in the Middle East, where manhood is so exaggerated and so important, that men who have a feminine, sensitive side haven't been given a voice. It's happening in the West, they're getting their voice, but still in the Middle East, there's still that idea. There's the one who's the macho does it to the boy. I'm talking about homosexuality now. And then there's the one who's the meek and mild, and they're the ones who are put down. Not the macho one who's doing it to the child, doing it to the other person. They're looked up to. They're not called homosexual. It's, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes.
But regression to cause, sexuality, get over your own fear of stop being a therapist. If you can't do the work, get out of the business. Sorry to be so blunt, but
yeah.
You're not helping the client.
So true, Beryl, because if a person himself or herself is scared that they cannot do the work with the clients and cannot handle their own emotions or whatever is coming up.
And that probably comes from having a trainer who didn't do the work, and a trainer who was scared of the work, and a trainer who just said, no, we don't go there, we don't do that, who comes from that background. So it just gets perpetuated from trainer to trainer to trainer. And the work gets weaker and weaker. That's what I've seen in my 4 decades of doing this work, is that the training's got weaker. Now you go on a training, nobody fails. They all get their certificate. I throw people off my course if they haven't got it. I say, go and study this, go and look at this. Let's do some one-on-one sessions. Join in next time if you choose to. But getting rid of your own stuff. I did in my training with Jerry. Whoa, that was a humdinger. And I slept. The amazing thing, after doing this, I'm dealing with this thing that had been my dirty secret for so many years, this dirty secret about me and raising my self-esteem. I slept for 10 hours solid. I've never in my life slept for 10 hours solid. My brain was still processing this, and I woke up literally as a new person.
Wow. Amazing.
Body image, love for self, confidence. A new person was born. Well, not a new person, the person I was originally born to be before I was hypnotized into our dirty secret, Yeah. I hope that answers.
Yes, Beryl. From therapist perspective and from the client perspective, thank you for sharing both the dimensions. And Beryl, as we are talking about the similar topic, my next question is, there are many women who are made to feel ashamed of their sexual thoughts, and that just because the very topic of the sex and the women cannot talk, women cannot discuss their desires, and they're kind of suppressed from even opening up. So when such people come, because over a period they might start accepting that, oh, it is very unnatural for a woman to think about sex or have these feelings, or it's not right thing to open up about her desires, etc. Maybe over a period she's filled with guilt, shame, and thinks that is true, and might not be open to get into a relationship, or doesn't feel that connection with her partner. So if such women come to hypnotherapy, does that really help, or how is hypnotherapy helpful in such cases? Could you please share your experiences and insights?
Again, I like working with groups of 4 to 6 women, small groups of women, where they start to have the trust factor. What happens in the room stays in the room, and they can start to, first of all, to bring out all the things that they were told about sex. They were told about the opposite sex, about men in general or whatever. And all these things, words like whore, prostitute, sin, and we just get them, fill them on I love flip charts, you can see them, get them on the flip charts, and then we just do some tapping on that, even though, I'm a sinful woman for the thoughts that I have, and sometimes that I don't have. I choose to love and accept myself the way God made me. Yeah, so we do some tapping on that. So they start to relax about being able to say these things that they never said aloud, that I have sinful thoughts or whatever. We talk about, that was the hypnosis. We're going to do the de-hypnosis to get you back. As a child, a small child loves to touch themselves. They haven't gotten, that's why little kids, you'll see them curled up and they're playing with their toes and putting their toes in their mouth or whatever, touching themselves. They haven't really identified with this body yet. They need time. And they're being told, don't touch down there. And they're like 6 months old and playing with their willy, or, investigating that space in there or whatever, Yeah. They lie in their cot, scream. Maybe somebody naked comes through the room or in the bathroom. They're taken into the bathroom and somebody has a pee. Of course, they're curious. It's about body image and answering questions truthfully with that, even though they ask what you might think are embarrassing questions, we need to say, why is that embarrassing to me?
Okay.
It's my reaction. It's not yours. You've got honesty there. One lady that really, really stands out for me, and she was married actually to a doctor. Mm-hmm. They were from India, an Indian doctor. I think he was a cousin or something. So the night of the marriage, and they hadn't really met since they were children. So she sat on the bed and she said, before we do this, making our marriage when we have children, I want to tell you something because I want you to take things slowly. What is this? She said, when I was 11 on my way home from school, going through the alleys, a man took off his silver camise and flashed me. And oh, it was so scary. I ran home to my mother and I told her what had happened. And she told me never to tell anybody. And it's been hanging inside of me for a long time. Okay. So of course, you know, this was a woman wanting to be honest, and you know, and well, it was scary at the time. So I'd like to take things slowly if that's okay, because it was a bit scary, but I want to be a good wife and I want to fulfill everything. He slapped her across the face, walked out of the hotel room, booked another room. She was left crying all night, wondering what's happened, because he didn't tell her what had happened. She thought he'd gone into the night. In the next morning, he said, we will never talk about this. You will never tell anybody. So it's again reinforcing what the mother had said. Simple one. I want a child. You will do IVF, and you'll be a good mother.
Oh.
She did. She had a child, beautiful little boy. And she'd never had sex. She'd never had penetrative sex, apart from that flash of a penis, which was just a blur, really. It was more the action than what was seen. And it was that was in her mind. How do you think she brought up that child? Hypnotized slowly to hate the father.
Okay.
How sad. But very, very depressed woman. She lived in a depressed, unloved state. And just to be able to tell somebody was such a relief, and not to be judged. Just to have that honesty and that respect, you know, and to know that what she was doing was good for her now. How would she like to be, you know? Because what had happened, she'd repressed herself by not going out because he'll think I'm a bad woman. So yeah, I had to take more interested in going to the gym, playing mahjong, doing things and going out. Does it matter what he thinks? Does it matter? Because for 11 years,
Yeah,
she had been, and it was funny that it was 11 years of marriage and 11 years old when this incident happened. That she started to be her, you know, because he's not going to divorce you if that's your concern, because that's a big thing in India, being divorced. Because if he does, you and I will expose him anyway, and he's a doctor. He should be more open. Can choose to be. I hate he should. Sorry, to be more open himself.
Yeah,
and, that was a very sad case. But I've worked with a lot of sexual issues. Women, I've worked with 3, 1 Arab, 2 Indian couples, where they were married. And in each case, it was 7 years, which was interesting. And they'd never had sex.
oh,
And that cousin type relationship, close relationship, cousin or second cousin, that sort of thing, or neighbors, where sometimes him, sometimes her, had been nervous of the sexual act, and they were good friends anyway, so it just never happened. One couple actually had a child, and I said, well, how did you have a child when there was no sex? And the fear of penetration now, because like becomes like, so one has that fear, it becomes over 7 years, they both have that fear. They said, oh, we used a spoon. They used a spoon to put the sperm in. I said, well, very healthily fertile, good for you. But they wanted to be able to have penetration. They were loving. They were like brothers and sisters, but they wanted, and we, in each case, we got them to do that. And that was by getting over the fears, past phobia, cure, regression to cause, all of those things mixed up together. And you know, this idea, imagine having a child a child is penetrating from the inside out rather than the outside in, and a head going through is going to be a lot more painful than sex. And that's another thing. It's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. You need to get over that. It doesn't have to be. If, again, teaching the man how to do proper foreplay, how to relax the woman so that she lubricates naturally, is very important. So yeah, I did a lot of work with men on, and they were much happier coming to me, an older woman. They don't want to go to a pretty woman to talk about these things because of fear of judgment. The older woman is safe. They don't want to go to a man where their manhood is being tested or questioned. So as that older woman, somehow, and that's not all cases, but in my case, they like that security of the grandmotherly
feeling. Yeah.
Feeling, non-judgment, because it's usually your parents that judge you and your grandparents who say, we just love you anyway.
And well, when it comes to, thank you for giving amazing examples of real-time clients that you work with. When it comes to men also do have some, emotional issues leading to erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, and all that stuff, which impacts their confidence big time, etc., etc. So, does hypnotherapy really help?
Yeah.
Also to enjoy their sexual life happily with
yes, I always remember my first client, who was a Saudi gentleman, and I think it was somebody in his oil company that had recommended me. He was very clever, came from an uneducated background, okay, but did very well at school. And then he got a scholarship to go to the States to do a master's degree, something to do with oil and things. But they wouldn't let him go to America unless he was married, because he might come back with an American bride or might get into bad ways. So he must be married. So they married him off to a cousin again, who he'd never met. So now he would have the wife at home, and he's supposed to get her pregnant before he goes. So there's always another double reason to come back. So off he went to the States, and he did have some girlfriends, and he dutifully came back in the summer holidays and saw the wife, made her pregnant again. So now she's got something like 6 babies, which came quite quickly when he was a young man. And now, as an older man, he's addicted to porn.
Okay.
And it was so addicted to porn that he was even taking time off work and going to you used to call them those places. It seems there's some places where you have a little room and you watch porn and do what men do, I guess, when they're, and of course, we know that it's the brain that gives you a hard on. It's the brain that does sex. It's the brain that tells that muscle what to do. And if the brain's not in the right place, that little guy's not going to stand up. I always talk about the little guys, no matter how big it is, don't want to know how many inches, but we'll call it the little guy and the big guy, which is you. And I put a lot of humor into this, and they appreciate that, because they've been taking it so serious and worrying about it. So now we're laughing about the little guy, doesn't listen, the little guy. So, get them relaxed and, use imagination, because he's so addicted to porn. Now he's not doing anything with his wife, who's pedo lady, put on weight, covered in black, uneducated, so far from him, who's traveled the world, very educated, enjoys talking to the men and the women at work, who are mostly expatriates, etc. He's not playing around. He's just addicted to porn 3-4 times a day. And it's exhausting him. Yeah. But elsewhere can't get it up. Now his wife's nagging him that he must have a mistress and he must be doing this and he must be doing that. And so the nagging doesn't help. So we have to engage imagination to talk to the little guy. Yeah. And not go to the porn. What's the porn been doing for him? We talk about pleasure and pain. etc. So he's running away from the pain of the being nagged and the being stuck in this marriage, etc. But he does have options. He can take another wife if he chooses to. We have to get over that barrier. What will people think? What will people say if he does take a wife who is a little bit more educated, well, a lot more educated and interesting? And, you know, this guy's he's on his way to becoming possibly a minister. You know, he's successful in this, but this time at the pornography place is eating up his time here as well. So he flew in for 2 weekends. We worked with him on that. And then I got a call from him in the middle of the day, so excited. It's Beryl, it's Beryl. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, you are a goddess. You are wonderful. He said, I drove past that place twice today and I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to go in. There's nothing there for me. I went past. I can go back. I know I can go back many places and I will never go in again. Great. Now let's work, you know, to see what your future will be. Now you've got rid of this with your wife and your family, because she's now all into the children and, you know, all of that stuff. She's not really that interested in him. The maid does the cooking. I got an invite. I didn't go to a wedding 18 months later. He was taking another wife.
Okay.
Who was educated, and they had talked about sex and what she was a widow, and he said his friends are laughing at him for taking a widow who has a child, but she understood because she could talk about sex quite happily, unlike some unmarried woman. I mean, he had never seen his wife naked, and they had 6 children.
Oh.
She just used to say to him, do you want me to pull my my camise down today? That was it. You know, she'd still be clothed, just untied. Do you want me to untie my silver camise today? And that was, do you want sex? So we talked about sex language and all sorts of things. And we knew he was able because he'd had a few girlfriends in the States. It was lovely. It was so nice. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing to help people with their erections. But I also want to make sure that I teach them that it's not just about erection. It's about the foreplay. It's the words. It's the whole senses. It's, you know, the licking and the touching and the caressing. I teach them where to, being a woman, I can tell them where to touch and how, and, you know, places, erotic, where to kiss here and things like that. It's nice because I know I'm doing something good for another woman somewhere.
Men need to understand. The more they understand, the better. And also removing the fear, stress, etc. would definitely help.
Yeah, they're not taught. You know, it's well, I was taken to a prostitute. Well, if it's a prostitute who just wants the money and get you out of here quick, she's going to maybe laugh at you because you're a young boy and he doesn't know what to do with this thing, or get it in quickly, get it out. I get my 50 rupees or whatever, and next, please. So what you would need in India and in many places is a sexual therapist prostitute. No, she's not. She's teaching you how to behave. This is what I want you to do. That's nice. That's good. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Oh, thank you. And teaching him what to say as well. You know, sometimes he has his erection and the sexual therapist, you know, hand job or whatever, there's no penetration, so there's not. Sometimes there is, but it's a sexual therapy thing. But we can do that with the brain as a hypnotherapist. We can guide them through that whole process as if it were happening, as if. When I work with people, I have I got it in Bombay actually, at the Oberoi down below. Very thin, very lovely pashmina shawl. very, very large one. I always put it over my client. So if he has an erection during our hypnosis, he thinks I didn't see, but I did see, and I'm very happy for him. Because if he's, you know, he knows he's had an erection, but he thinks I didn't see. Because I'm talking to his mind. Yeah.
And now to a different topic, Beryl. Thank you very much for this insightful conversation. We really need this open conversations that people get to know. And as you are a sleep talk instructor as well, Beryl, long back, maybe in my teenage thing, I read this Think and Grow Rich book, and I was super fascinated. How come the author played the tape over and over, and he could help his son to uh, improve his hearing capability, where he was born deaf. And later, when I learned hypnotherapy, I wanted to experiment and made a lot of mothers to talk when their children were asleep about they're doing well in their subjects, etc., etc. However, there was this argument from the other hypnotherapists who have decades of experience, Vera. So here was the statement: when you cannot see with your eyes closed, how can someone be open to the hypnotic suggestions when they are asleep? So being this sleep talk expert, and you yourself conduct a lot of workshops, I'm sure there's one upcoming. So I'll put the dates also, friends, under the YouTube description, and also share Beryl Comar's upcoming workshop on my Facebook. So could you please clarify that when you cannot see with your eyes closed, how can you hear when you're asleep? So what's your answer for this?
If you say to a blind person you can't see because you're blind, he'll argue with you. He has perceptions of what a dog is. He has perceptions of what a house is, and a floor and a ceiling. Perceptions of what wind. You can't see wind, but you know it's there, don't you?
Yes, it is there, you know.
You can't see heat, but you can see a reaction in your skin to it. You can feel a reaction. So it's all, everything is imagination and perception. So you can see with your eyes closed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds easy. The second thing to address is, what is sleep talk? Sleep talk is registered. It's copyrighted, and people are using the word sleep talk thinking that. And I had one the other day talking, oh, I use sleep talk, I say this, this, and this, and he was actually using a negative in there, which is not. Sleep talk is registered. It's the word was developed by Joan Golding and her husband, and they developed this process, but people just used it willy-nilly, and they're not trained.
Yeah.
I mean, Joan used to be quite litigious, and she did sue a few people for using the word sleep talk when they weren't trained. But I'm 74, she's even older than me. So she's not doing that these days, and people are just using it because it has been effective, so they want to jump on it. A bandwagon. It's a bit like virtual gastric band became. You know, people just think, oh, I understand the precept, so I'll use it as a term and say that I do it. It's so copyright, and make sure that you use it properly. I teach level 1, which is for parents, caregivers to use with their children. Okay. And then level 2 is somebody who wants to be a consultant and teach people and work with parents who have problem children. Sometimes you never even see the child. If you're a hypnotherapist, you can also add working with the child as well. But there are so many modalities to this. The concept of unconditional love, letting go of your expectations. Isn't it funny that if I have a disabled child, I will do everything to give that child so much self-esteem and confidence that if I'm bullied or people say something like, yeah, you've got, only one leg, or you've got one arm like this, or whatever. And I speak from experience as somebody who's disabled now and has a hand that doesn't work, that you get bullied and teased, that you have enough self-esteem to get over that and not learn to live with your disability. No, to challenge what people say. I mean, they said to me, "You'll never write again." I said, "Lucky you, I will." I'll show you, I'll write a book. And I did. So to do everything to walk and use any facilities here that you can, teach them how to use this disabled. So we able disabled children. Have you noticed if you have an able child, an average happy child, you then disable him? Why can't you be like your brother? Oh, you'll never be able to do that. You're no good at maths. Stop doing that. You'll fall down. Oh, you are putting in these hypnotic suggestions and disabling that child. And then they grow up and they come to you and me because they've got a fear of driving or a fear of dogs or a fear of that. You were a happy, normal child and you've been disabled. So teaching the parents how to say things, the action you want, not the action you don't. Instead of, don't do that, I want you to, and then tell them what you actually want.
Amazing.
Yeah, don't forget your homework. You put in the idea to forget homework. Remember to do your homework. What time will you do it today? You've got to be thinking what time. So there's a whole lot of concepts there that we teach parents, and we teach them how to go into the room about half an hour to 40 minutes. You know your own child after they've gone to sleep. So they've gone to sleep. You're taking them from sleep up into REM, which you and I know is hypnosis, but we're not allowed to say the word in SleepTalk. So we're taking them from deep sleep into REM, rapid eye movement, and then we're putting in the suggestions. Then we're taking them back into sleep again. So the child doesn't know you came into the room. But it's not, again, addressing the behavior. Again, we have to get away from my child as a doer to a child as a beer. What do you want a child to be? Stop asking what do you want to do when you're older. What kind of person do you want to be? It's more important than what you want to do, because that'll change from being a fireman to an astronaut to a doctor to a teacher. It's not the doing, it's what kind of person do you want to be? What's important to you? Again, that emotional intelligence stuff. So there's a whole lot of training of the parent, their expectations, making disappointments. Your child now knows he's a disappointment to you, but all he wants from you is love and respect. He wants you to build his esteem and know that when he does things and falls, you say, okay, go do it again. Next time you won't fall. Whatever that is, again, we're put on this earth to live and learn from our mistakes. We'll make them. 74, do you think I don't make mistakes? Of course I'm making new mistakes. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, just because I made that mistake now doesn't mean I won't do it again, because I've learned to look behind me or do that or whatever. So level 1 is for the parents. They can do it with their own child. It is not to teach to be a consultant. Too many people who are hypnotherapists, they do level 1 and then they say they're a SleepTalk consultant. No, you must do level 2 and understand all of the concepts behind and work with the parents and learn how to do level, because there's a foundation statement which you'll use with a child, every child, for 3 months. And you never mention the behavior. The behavior isn't it. Let the child decide what the behavior is they're working on. Level 2, again, we're working on specific things, but we don't mention the bedwetting. Yeah, you're stopping the bedwetting. No, you're again taking him to behavior. It's the cause and what's going on. Yeah, you go to sleep at night and you sleep well. And when you feel that itchy, feeling inside of you, you want to go to the toilet, it's easy for you to wake up and go to the toilet. And we don't want you to wake up properly, half asleep and half awake. You see, as soon as you say, wake up and go to the toilet, oh, I don't want to wake up. Tell them it's okay to be half asleep and go to the toilet. If you go to the toilet in the night, Nizam, are you fully awake or are you half asleep?
Half sleep, to be honest.
Me too. But we tell the child, wake up and go to the toilet. He doesn't want to do that. I go half asleep.
So getting well trained in this modality helps therapists and parents very well to properly train. Yes.
When you have a child with self-esteem and confidence, like those disabled children are brought up to be, they can achieve beyond what anybody ever thought they could. But you smash him down with all those negatives. Of course, he's around television because he's not encouraged to take risks.
Beryl, there are children who are diagnosed with ADHD, autism, and different other things. So, if parents get trained in this sleep talk, would that really benefit?
Yes, that's where it comes from. Joan Golding had a child, Michelle, who had dyspraxia, dyslexia. Spoke her own kind of language with her sister, only her sister understood. She was misbehaved. She had an IQ of 60, less than 60, I think. And the doctors told her, oh, give her to us, we'll put her in this institute. You just forget, go and have another child. She was shocked. Her husband left her because of the child's behavior. She's left alone. She was training to be a hypnotherapist with Jim Golding. He married her and took on this child, and the child took his name. And together, using the theories of hypnosleep and Elman's work, they started to develop sleep talk because they knew they could not talk to her during the day, because during the day, she's not listening. She's in her own world. She's doing her own thing. The only time they could talk to her was during her sleep. So that's when they developed this. And she grew up. She had a job at McDonald's. She learned which bus to take. She got there. She was cleaning the tables. The manager only had one complaint, that sometimes she's got nothing to do and she's going, those people are sitting too long at the table. I want to clean the table. It's okay. They're spending money. So, because, yeah, she's still got the IQ issues, but doing amazingly well for what she has. She really, because she had the self-esteem to say, I want to do my job. I mean, how wonderful is that? She got married. And they planned a honeymoon. He was, can't remember, he had some issues as well. But anyway, they got married. They planned a cruise for the honeymoon, etc., etc. Oh, Joan did have the child, her ovaries taken away so that she couldn't have children, because she wouldn't have been able to she needed routine. She wouldn't have been able to work with a child's demands. And she's a healthy 50-year-old.
Amazing. Such a beautiful tool.
What she has, a disabled child becoming an abled person.
Yeah.
You know, is she writing academic papers in university? No, but she is a citizen who can work within her community. And that's where sleep talk developed. She worked with psychologists and psychiatrists with the wording and the process. It's approved by so many associations.
Wow, amazing. And Beryl
is not to work I want to say about psychology and diagnose ADHD, diagnose this, diagnose that. The problem with psychology is, but it's also their strength, is that they go through their checklists and they say, in fact, I'm going to do a presentation on ADHD soon for children because it's so misunderstood. And then they give you the diagnosis. That's the why. But they can't give you the how. Stop focusing on the why. Why do I have this problem? Why do I have this? Why? You go down that spiral. Work on the how. I know I've got that behavior. How? It's like the work I do with dementia patients nowadays.
Yes, that was my next question. Thank
I'm
you.
working, we're working with within that diagnosis. I've got my checklist of things that are poor, very poor. Again, there are some things they're doing that are normal. Let's keep those and work on some of these, but prioritize which ones are the priorities of all the ones that are weak. Which are we going to see if we can improve? For example, a lady recently she was taken into hospital with a UTI, urinary tract infection, and she used to be a nurse. So whenever there were blinds around and the nurses were working on someone, she was going into these areas and telling the nurses what to do, or going here and going there. She's a nurse again in her mind because she's in. So all areas, go away, you're not a nurse, you're not a nurse, the negatives. So all I had to teach them was to say, oh, Mary, thank you for coming. Now, you're the one we trust the most. Oh, these young people, we can't trust them like you. So I want to take you to the laundry, to the and we want you to count how many towels there are. It's very important we know, because maybe somebody's taking the towels. I want you to fold these so that when they come for new scrubs, they can take them. Give her a job that she can do and keep telling her how important this is and how wonderful. Tomorrow, give her the same job. She doesn't know she did it yesterday.
Yes.
But it stopped her going in and interfering with the nurses doing their jobs. And she felt valued and part of the community.
Wonderful.
A gentleman who was peeing all over the house went to have a look at what's going on, and beautiful bathroom. Yes, we made him a nice bathroom, but it's all white tiled walls, white floors, white toilet, white. So in his confused state, he goes into this room. He can't visually see what you and I see. It's very confusing for him. So he goes to look for somewhere to pee, and he was peeing where there was color on a carpet or against the wooden door and things. So I said, okay, duct tape. Let's get some fluorescent duct tape, also switches and things. So get some fluorescent, and we put duct tape around the toilet seat and a ping pong ball.
Okay.
All right. So now he knows to go, because there's the bull ring, like darts, and your job is to
Hit it out right
the
way.
ping pong ball. And he loved it. It was a game. He's in his childlike mind. Make a childlike. And we also put fluorescent duct tape so you could see it in the dark at night to find the switch.
Okay.
Easy. All we need as the consultant is that imagination, that playful childlike mind ourselves, to see the world as they see it and engage with that. Job done.
Yes, so creative ways of helping people.
Yes. Yeah. It's our job to be in their world. And we know that as a hypnotherapist. When we have someone in hypnosis, we're in their world, working with theirs, not what I think you should or shouldn't be able to do. I think you should stop smoking your 30 a day. But they want to smoke 22 a day. Okay, be in their world. Yeah, what's going on in their mind, and be there. To me, that's the simplest thing. If you have emotional intelligence, social awareness, and social management.
Yeah, awesome. And Beryl, since you're an NLP trainer as well, so one of the questions I want to ask is, like, when the person, it doesn't matter if a person is in trance or not, I'm not talking about it, but there comes like ecological check, and let's say your unconscious mind is coming up with three alternatives or five alternatives for this eating habit, or it could be anything, like a resourceful thing, and they've got yes, and the time they got as an answer is maybe like it takes 20 days or 30 days. It was negotiated, and then the person opens their eyes, walks home, nothing happens. After 30 days comes back. So where did the NLP practitioner go wrong with the getting yes or ecological check, or finding the alternatives where the consciously the person doesn't even know what is the unconscious mind has figured out? So where is this mistake happening? So what is it, Oliver?
First thing is the 21 days myth. Where does it come from? It's a myth.
Okay.
Change can happen in a second. It often does. Yeah, I can go to the hairdresser and be a redhead in an hour. I've changed. Yeah. A black dog can growl at a child, and they've got a fear of dogs for the rest of their life. A second. That's a change. A negative change can happen in a second. So can a positive change.
Okay.
Where did this 21-day myth come from? Ridiculous.
No, the unconscious mind has answered. It seems that it wants
so
to.
never say,
Yes.
in 21 days, we'll see where you are. No, stop it. That's the first thing. All right. So that's the first myth to get. The second one, you're asking for 3, 5. I always ask for 7 alternatives. And I talk to the part. I talk to the creative part, and I praise it, and I tell it how wonderful it is. And I ask, I'm usually using idiomotor responses. Tell me, so I'm really in rapport, creative part. Are you big? Yeah. Do you get used to enough? No. Oh, that's a shame. I bet you used to when you were a kid. Yeah. Okay. So you're still there. And I know that if a creative part doesn't get used to its full capacity in positive ways, you go off and do naughty things, don't you, creative part? I know, because you want to be creative, isn't that right? Yeah. So I seduce my parts, okay? And you heard the part there that's got the problem. That's the stuff that's going on. I've been holding on to this for a long time. I bet you can help. I bet you, being the creative part, you know what to do, isn't that right? Yeah. Because you're so big, aren't you? Yeah. Creative parts love to be recognized. So I'd like you to go and find 7. And I always do 7 because, yes, they slow down as they get to 3 and 5. But it's when they're going to those last points they get the final ones, the really deep ones. If you're only asking for 3, you're not going to get the very deep things. And for each one, so for each one that you give me a yes. I'll do the boring stuff today. I'll do the counting. Your job is just to be creative. Go and find. You know what's happening. You know what's going on. 7 new behaviors, just as good or even better than that old behavior, because I know you can do it. Yeah, for each one, give me a yes. And then, very good, fantastic.
Does the person say
wonderful.
Beryl, those 7 things are told by the client, or it is just a yes? No,
it's internal.
Okay.
Because the minute they say it and put words to it, you're engaging the conscious mind.
Yes.
Conscious mind came later. We didn't have vocabulary till later. We're thinking to ourselves. We're using our own internal dialogue. Okay. 3. And I'll say 3. Oh my gosh. I've met some creative parts, but you really are the bee's knees. 4. Wonderful. Wow. Amazing. And then it starts to slow down because they're really going much deeper into behaviors and things that they can do. And maybe it's not a behavior, maybe it's a thinking that needs to be changed. 5. Wonderful. Maybe some of the and things around, or intentions. 6, wow, you're amazing. 7, wow. I bet you can even come up with some more, isn't that right? Yes. Okay, you keep coming up with more things. Amazing. From now on for the rest of Susie's life. What you are so wonderful, creative part. I'm going to put you in charge. Fantastic. And then now this is a Berylism. So first part, would you be willing to work with the creative part? Creative part, would you be willing to work? Can you form a team? First part, you worked alone, it's been lonely. Now you've got a team, how wonderful. All right. Now, as I'm curious, I just want to know if I could talk to the stubborn part of Susie. You know that stubborn part when she was little, you say, no, don't want to. Yeah. And it gets kicked around and told not to be stubborn. I think maybe there's still a stubborn part. If you're still there, stubborn, would you like to talk to me? Because I'd like to talk to you. Again, all parts, I've even spoken to Killer and all sorts of things. You've got to get in rapport with. Yes. Okay. Stubborn. Are you big? Yes. Do you get used enough? No. Okay. Would you like to be used a bit more? Because sometimes stubborn is useful, no matter what other people say. You know that behavior, and it could be, you know, like all the creative things, that non-snow. Whenever the creative part and the other part get together, and they're going to say, we're not going to do that smoking or nail biting or whatever. You can be big. And you'll say, no. Yeah, so when people say, oh, just one cigarette. Oh, that's you. Come out and say, no. Come on, creative art together. Yeah. And you know, for this, you're allowed to stamp your fist. You're allowed to stamp your foot. Yeah. And anybody says, you know, you're gonna take that smoking weed, or you're gonna do something that you know you don't want to, they don't want to do it. Susie doesn't want to do anymore. You can come up, and you can say, no, you're allowed to. No, I'm better than that. No, I'm not listening. No. Would you like to do that? Yeah. Can you work out your own ways of doing that in different situations? Go into a little movie and make it of doing that, so it's future pacing. And working with the creative part to do that. You do that now. I'll give you a minute to do that. So now we've got 3 of them working together, future pacing with the stubborn part. I love bringing in the stubborn part. Love it. We're born so stubborn, knowing our right. So, and then I get the 3 of them to make that agreement between them, how they're going to work together, and neither of them is going to take over. They're all going to work together for Susie, because they're all part of Susie. And I say, are there any other parts that you feel would be needed? Sometimes I get a yes. What part will I call that part? Because I want to talk to that part. A lot of the times it's all settled. And then I have them scan do all parts agree. Scan from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, and all the aura around. That's very important.
Yes.
Do all parts agree? Yes. Now I want to do a double bind. I want to make sure. One last scan from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Are there any parts that don't agree? So even though all parts have agreed, sometimes you get one that doesn't disagree. It's been hiding away there. So you have to start and talk to that part. So, yeah.
This is very creative. Wow. Beautiful.
Have fun. It's not, and now I want to talk to the part of it, and now I want to talk to the part of this. Be engaged. You're talking to parts that love themselves. I have such fun, and I get energized because I'm energized during the whole process. I love my job.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Beryl. Like, from sexuality to regression to parts and sleep talk, like all over. And one last question, Beryl, like if someone is trained elsewhere in other school of various methods and all that, If someone wants to get mentored by you, do you offer any sort of personal mentoring and training? Someone wants to get trained, how do they contact you?
Mostly I've been mentoring my own students and graduates and things, but I'm open now as I slow down a little bit. But I'm not. Slowing down hasn't somehow worked out. To mentoring. Yeah. Just email me berylcoma@gmail.com. We'll see how I can accommodate you. I like to work with specifics, bring things to me, and we'll teach you techniques and things like that. And I'm very techniques and oriented and client oriented. And I'll push you. I'll push. Yeah, take you beyond what you ever thought possible. And I'm teaching hypno kids because so many courses don't teach really how to work with children when you do initial training. So I'm teaching hypno kids 2 days, 1 week apart on the 1st of October. I'm doing some SleepTalk training online. I'm doing so people have asked me to do hypnodontics, so maybe I'll do that, but I really want people doing hypnodontics who have had good training.
Transaction analysis.
Again, EFT, people read a manual and go out and teach it. I'm a kinesiologist, which I learned before EFT, and NLP. Gary Craig always said, learn NLP to do EFT well. So I'm one of the very, very few that Gary Craig actually trained, and I can issue Gary Craig certifications. Too many people are just doing their own certification. So you actually get a Gary Craig certification. So level 1, again, is for working on yourself. Yeah. Level 2, to be the consultant and work with others. But too many people don't understand the levels. And level 3, to be a trainer. What else am I teaching? Oh, my favorite, transactional analysis. Yeah, how you became you, how you became the judge or the victim, how you became passive aggressive or whatever. So many people think they're adults, but they're not. Too many of us go into judgment. I've gone into judge several times this session, gone into, we move around but know where you are. And it really helps you to know others as well and how to deal with them. So if somebody's into judge and you're going into judge as a class, a lot of women think, oh no, I'm an adult, but they're saying things like, why don't you do this? It would be better if you did that. It's coming from a judge to do that, it's so rescuer. Yes.
Amazing.
So actually, I always say, if you don't know what to do with Beryl, just do the transactional analysis. It's the cheapest course, it's the shortest course, and you'll get to know me and how I train. And you might say, that's not for me, I just want to read scripts. So I could tell everybody to do the most expensive course, but I'm not. The one to know you and start making changes is transactional analysis.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Nizam. You do
very much. Thank you very much for your patience and answering all this thing. Friends, again, as I say, Beryl is coming up with so many series of workshops, right, from Hypno Kids, transaction analysis, EFT and SleepTalk, etc. Our good friend Nicole is organizing this session series. I'll provide the link where you can reach out for training programs and Beryl Comar's website. All the details I'll provide. And thank you once again, Beryl, for your time. And it was my dream to interview you. Finally, it happened. Thank you very much.
Yes, you have been bugging me for a while. So well done, you.
Thank you, Beryl. Thank you.
Thank you, Nizam. It's so lovely.
Thank you.